Hey coin lovers! Welcome to the Worth Old Coins channel, your place to discover the hidden value and rare facts about old coins. In today's video we're revealing the top 4 valuable coins, and one of them might just be in your collection. So don't skip this video, let's find out their real worth. Top 1. The 1997 one-penny coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is an important piece in the history of modern British coinage. It belongs to the decimal currency series, which was first introduced in 1971 to replace the centuries-old pound shillings and pence system. By the time the 1997 penny was issued, the denomination had been in circulation for over 25 years, yet it remained an essential part of everyday transactions across the United Kingdom. The penny might be the smallest in face value, but it carries deep symbolic significance, embodying Britain's heritage, the monarchy's image, and the Royal Mint's tradition of precise high-quality coin production. The 1997 issue is particularly interesting because it was the final year to feature the Raphael Maklauf portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the penny before the portrait changed to Ian Rank Broadley's design in 1998. This gives the 1997 penny a notable place in the timeline of Elizabeth II's coin portraits. On the obverse front of the 1997 penny is the third major decimal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by sculptor Raphael David Maklauf and introduced in 1985. This depiction shows the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem, an ornate crown set with diamonds, pearls, and floral emblems representing England, roses, Scotland, thistles, and Ireland, shamrocks. The diadem is one she traditionally wore during the state opening of Parliament. Maklauf's portrait is characterized by a dignified, almost idealized presentation of the Queen's features with a smooth neckline and a calm, poised expression. Around the portrait runs the legend, Elizabeth II D.G. Reg. F.A.D. 1997, which is Latin for Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen L. Defender of the Faith. The date, 1997, appears at the end of the inscription, clearly marking the year of issue. The text is struck in clean, well-spaced capitals, reflecting the Royal Mint's attention to precision even on the smallest coins. The reverse, back, of the coin carries the classic design of a crowned portcullis with chains, a historic emblem associated with the Palace of Westminster and British Parliament. This reverse design was created by Christopher Ironside for the introduction of decimal coinage in 1971 and has remained a hallmark of the 1p coin ever since. The portcullis, a heavy gate used in medieval fortifications, is shown with fine vertical and horizontal bars, chain links hanging on either side, and a crown resting above. The denomination is displayed in 2 parts, 1 penny, in large lettering above the design, and the numeral 1 positioned centrally below it. The overall style is symmetrical and instantly recognizable. The portcullis motif is not only functional in appearance but also deeply symbolic. It represents the strength and protection of the nation's seat of government. In terms of physical specifications, the 1997 penny was struck in bronze, a composition that had been standard for UK 1p coins since decimalization in 1971. The alloy consists of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin, producing a warm reddish-brown color that can develop a rich patina over time. The coin has a diameter of 20.32 mm, a weight of 3.56 grams, and a thickness of about 1.52 mm. Its edge is plain, smooth, without any reading or inscriptions. In 1992, the Royal Mint had changed the 1p and 2p coins struck for general circulation from bronze to copper-plated steel due to rising metal costs, but bronze coins like the 1997 issue continued to be made for proof and uncirculated sets. This means that most 1997 pennies in circulation are actually copper-plated steel, although some proof coins are genuine bronze. The mintage for the 1997 penny was very high for circulation coins, running into the hundreds of millions. This reflects the denomination's constant demand for everyday use in shops, vending machines, and small transactions. Alongside standard circulation strikes, the Royal Mint also produced proof versions for collectors as part of annual sets, often struck in higher quality with more polished detail. Proof coins from 1997 are easily distinguished by their mirror-like background and frosted relief, making the Queen's portrait and the portcullis design stand out dramatically. While standard 1997 pennies are extremely common and usually worth only face value in circulated condition, proof examples in original packaging have collector appeal and can be worth more. Historically, the 1997 one-penny coin represents the closing chapter of the Maklauf portrait era on the denomination. From 1998 onwards, UK coins adopted the Ian Rank Broadley portrait, which was a more realistic and less idealized representation of the Queen. This transition makes the 1997 penny the final issue for collectors, completing a series of Maclauf-designed pennies from 1985 to 1997. Many collectors place special importance on last-year designs, especially when they mark a clear artistic change. From a design symbolism perspective, the crowned portcullis ties the coin to centuries of English heraldry and royal imagery. The portcullis was originally used as a badge by King Henry VII in the late 15th century and later became an emblem of Parliament. Its presence on a humble penny serves as a reminder of the deep historical continuity in British governance, even as the coin itself is a product of modern minting technology. Similarly, the Queen's crowned portrait connects the everyday currency in the hands of the public to the constitutional monarchy. In the collector's market, the 1997 penny is widely available, and circulated examples are generally worth only their nominal value. However, fully uncirculated coins with no scratches or discoloration, especially those with strong original mint luster, are more desirable. Proof versions from the Royal Mint's 1997 annual coin set can be sought after by decimal coin specialists, particularly the bronze-struck examples that differ from the steel circulation coins. The difference in metal can be detected with a magnet. Copper-plated steel coins will be magnetic, while bronze-proof coins will not. This makes the 1997 issue an interesting example for collectors who enjoy studying variations within a single year. In broader numismatic context, the 1997 penny is part of the long reign of Elizabeth II, which saw 5 different obverse portraits appear on UK coins over the decades. The Maclauf portrait, which dominates mid-1980s to 1990s issues, is often remembered for its elegance and fine detailing. For historians, the coin is also a small artifact of Britain in the late 1990s, a period of economic stability, cultural change, and the approaching turn of the millennium, and that since the 1997 penny is not just a piece of metal but a tiny time capsule carrying the imagery of Britain's monarchy and Parliament into the everyday lives of millions. Overall, the 1 penny Elizabeth II 1997 coin is a modest yet historically meaningful piece. It bridges the gap between two portrait eras, continues the use of traditional British symbols, and reflects the changing materials and minting techniques of its time. Whether kept as loose change collected in a date set or treasured in proof condition, it stands as a reminder that even the smallest coin can carry a wealth of history. Top 2. The 1 penny coin of 1987 featuring Queen Elizabeth II belongs to the United Kingdom's decimal coinage system, which was introduced in 1971 to replace the traditional pound, shillings, and pence currency structure that had existed for centuries. By the mid-1980s, the penny had already been a familiar part of everyday British transactions for over 15 years, circulating widely in both cities and rural towns, used in everything from vending machines to market stalls. The 1987 issue holds a particular place in numismatic history because it was only the 3rd year to feature the Raphael Maclauf portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, a design that represented a distinct artistic shift from earlier coinage portraits. This period was one of economic stability for the UK, and the Royal Mint continued to produce coins to exceptionally high technical standards, even for the smallest denomination. The 1987 penny is therefore both a functional monetary unit and a piece of national symbolism in miniature. The obverse of the 1987 1 penny features the 3rd decimal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Raphael David Maclauf and first introduced in 1985. This portrait is more formal and idealized compared to the preceding Arnold Machin design, showing the Queen wearing the George IV state diadem, a diamond crown traditionally worn during the state opening of Parliament. The diadem is highly detailed, with visible rose, thistle, and shamrock motifs representing England, Scotland, and Ireland respectively. Maclauf intentionally portrayed the Queen in a more regal and timeless style, avoiding excessive realism in favor of a dignified, almost classical look. Around the portrait runs the Latin legend, Elizabeth II D.G. Reg. F.A.D. 1987, which stands for Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, meaning Elizabeth II by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. The date, 1987, is struck clearly at the bottom of the inscription, anchoring the coin in its year of minting. The reverse design of the 1987 penny is the same as that introduced at decimalization in 1971, a crowned portcullis with chains, a motif that has deep historical roots in British heraldry and governance. This design was created by the talented coin designer Christopher Ironside, who developed much of the UK's original decimal coin imagery. The portcullis, a heavy metal gate used in medieval castles and fortifications, is shown with fine vertical and horizontal bars, chain links extending from either side, and a royal crown placed above. A T is symbolic of the Palace of Westminster, the seat of Parliament, and represents the safeguarding of the nation. Above the portcullis is the denomination inscription, 1 penny, while the numeral 1 appears below, making the coin's value easily recognizable even in worn condition. The clean symmetrical arrangement of elements ensures that the design remains clear even after years of circulation. The metal composition of the 1987 one penny is traditional bronze and alloy of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc and 0.5% tin. This composition had been used for UK pennies since 1971 and gives the coin a warm reddish-brown color when new, which can gradually deepen into a darker patina with age. The coin has a diameter of 20.32 mm, a weight of 3.56 grams, and a thickness of 1.52 mm. The edge is plain, as is standard for low-denomination coins, helping to reduce minting costs while retaining durability. This bronze composition would remain standard for the penny until 1992, when copper-plated steel replaced it for circulation coins due to rising copper prices. Thus, the 1987 penny belongs firmly to the classic bronze era of British decimal coins, which many collectors consider more aesthetically pleasing and historically significant than the later steel issues. In terms of mintage, the 1987 penny was produced in large quantities for general circulation, ensuring that it was widely available for daily commerce. The Royal Mint also struck special proof and uncirculated versions for collectors, which exhibit sharper details and a higher quality finish. Proof coins in particular have mirror-like fields and frosted raised designs, making the Queen's portrait and the portcullis design stand out with striking clarity. Circulated examples of the 1987 penny are very common today and typically have only face value, but coins in uncirculated or proof condition can command a premium, especially if preserved in their original Royal Mint packaging. From a historical perspective, the 1987 penny reflects a transitional stage in British coinage aesthetics. The Maklauf portrait, introduced in 1985, was intended to refresh the image of the Queen on everyday coins after nearly 2 decades of the Mackin portrait. While some critics at the time felt the design was overly formalized, it has since been appreciated for its balance of modernity and tradition. The reverse design, however, remained unchanged since decimalization, showing the Royal Mint's confidence in Ironside's original imagery and its symbolic resonance with the public. The symbolism embedded in the 1987 penny's design is rich and layered. The crowned portcullis, while practical in origin as a defensive structure, has long been associated with parliamentary democracy in the UK. Its use on the penny ties even the smallest unit of currency to the concept of governance stability and national security. The Queen's crowned portrait reinforces the constitutional link between the monarchy and Parliament, 2 pillars of the British political system. For collectors and historians, this combination of imagery makes the penny a small but potent reminder of Britain's institutional continuity. In collector terms, the 1987 penny is readily available and inexpensive in circulated condition, making it a good entry point for beginners interested in building a full-date run of decimal pennies. Higher-grade coins, especially brilliant uncirculated or proof examples, are more desirable. Proof issues are particularly attractive because they were struck in bronze with extraordinary care, intended for inclusion in the 1987 UK proof sets rather than circulation. Over time, the distinction between standard and proof strikes has made proof pennies from this era a small but valued niche in decimal coin collecting. Numismatically, the 1987 penny sits in an era of relative stability. There were no major coinage reforms, no radical design changes, and no shifts in denomination structure. Yet for a numismatist, such coins are not boring, but rather integral parts of a complete historical record. The fact that the design remained unchanged on the reverse while the obverse had been updated just 2 years earlier shows how coin design evolves in stages rather than all at once. The bronze composition further ties the coin to a long tradition dating back to Britain's pre-decimal pennies, which were also copper-based. Overall, the 1 penny Elizabeth II 1987 coin may be small in value, but it is rich in historical meaning. It represents a snapshot of Britain in the late 1980s, a time of political stability, economic growth, and careful preservation of national symbols in everyday life. Whether tucked away in a collector's album, still circulating in loose change during its early years, or sitting as part of a complete proof set, the 1987 penny carries forward the traditions of British coinage in a form that is as accessible as it is enduring. Top 3. The 1 penny coin of 1979 is part of the United Kingdom's decimal coinage system, which had been introduced only 8 years earlier in 1971, replacing the long-standing pound, shillings, and pence system that had existed for centuries. Decimalization was one of the most significant changes in British monetary history, and the penny played a key role in this modernized currency structure. The 1979 issue belongs to the earliest generation of decimal coins, still in the hands of millions at the time, and it carries the image of Queen Elizabeth II during the early years of her reign's decimal currency era. Although the penny was the smallest denomination in terms of face value, it was far from insignificant. It was essential for exact change in daily commerce, vending machines, public telephones, and countless other transactions in Britain's late 1970s economy. On the obverse front, Of the 1979 one penny is the second decimal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II created by British sculptor Arnold Machin. This portrait was first introduced in 1968 for pre-decimal coins and was carried over to decimal coins in 1971, becoming one of the most familiar royal images on British currency. In Machin's design, the Queen is shown wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a wedding gift she received in 1947 from her grandmother Queen Mary. The tiara is finely detailed with small delicate points and jewels clearly visible even on the small surface of the penny. The Queen's hair is swept back in her youthful features are depicted with smooth lines and subtle shading. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin inscription Elizabeth II D.G. Reg. FAD 1979, which expands to Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, meaning Elizabeth II by the grace of God Queen Defender of the Faith. The date, 1979, appears prominently at the end of the legend, making it easy to identify the year of minting. The reverse of the coin features the design that had been standard since the introduction of decimalization, a crowned portcullis with chains, designed by Christopher Ironside. The portcullis is a medieval-style gate historically used in castle fortifications and is here shown with fine vertical and horizontal bars, a chain draped to each side, and a royal crown placed above. The design is both practical and symbolic. Practically, it is simple enough to remain legible after years of circulation. Symbolically, it represents the Palace of Westminster and the authority of Parliament. Above the portcullis is the denomination inscription, 1 penny, in bold capital letters, while the numeral 1 is displayed below, confirming the coin's value. The reverse design is symmetrical, clean, and balanced, a perfect example of Ironside's ability to combine function with tradition. In terms of physical specifications, the 1979 penny was struck in bronze and alloy consisting of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. This bronze composition had been the standard for the penny since decimalization began in 1971, and it produced a warm reddish-brown tone when new. Over time, circulated examples could develop a darker brown or even greenish patina depending on storage and environmental conditions. The coin measures 20.32 millimeters in diameter, weighs 3.56 grams, and has a thickness of 1.52 millimeters. Its edge is plain, smooth, with no milling, a cost-saving and practical choice for low-denomination coins. These specifications remained constant for the penny until 1992, when copper-plated steel replaced bronze for circulation coins due to rising metal prices. The mintage for the 1979 one penny was very high as the denomination was in constant demand for everyday transactions. Tens of millions were struck for circulation at the Royal Mint's facilities, ensuring that the coin was widely available across the UK. In addition to circulation coins, the Royal Mint also produced a limited number of proof coins for collector sets, which were struck with extra care and polished dies to create mirror-like fields and frosted relief details. These proof coins are far scarcer than their circulation counterparts and are of particular interest to numismatists, especially when still housed in their original presentation packaging. From a historical perspective, the 1979 penny belongs to the Machin portrait era, 1968 to 1984, which is remembered for its refined youthful depiction of the Queen and for the stability of coin designs during that period. The late 1970s was a period of both economic challenge and cultural change in Britain, with inflation affecting daily life and coins being relied upon heavily in cash-based transactions. Despite the penny's low face value, it played a crucial role in the UK's coinage system, often used in combination with other low-denomination coins to make exact change. In this era, a penny could still buy small items such as a piece of confectionery, making it more relevant in daily commerce than it is today. The symbolism of the 1979 penny's design is both historical and political. The crowned portcullis was once used as a badge by King Henry VII and has since been adopted as an emblem of the British Parliament. By placing this symbol on the reverse of the penny, the Royal Mint connected the smallest coin in circulation to the centuries-old traditions of governance and monarchy. The obverse portrait further strengthens this connection by depicting the reigning monarch Queen Elizabeth II as both a modern leader and the inheritor of a long royal lineage. In collector terms, the 1979 penny is common in circulated condition and generally worth only its face value. However, uncirculated and proof examples are more desirable, particularly those with strong original mint luster and no signs of wear. Proof versions from the 1979 Royal Mint sets can command higher prices, especially when kept in pristine condition. Since the coin is made of bronze, it is also of interest to collectors who study the transition from bronze to copper-plated steel in the UK's decimal coinage, as this change occurred just over a decade later. From a numismatic continuity perspective, the 1979 one penny sits firmly in the first generation of decimal coins, unchanged in design since 1971. It reflects the Royal Mint's philosophy at the time: maintaining visual consistency while producing coins that were practical, durable, and culturally resonant. The combination of Arnold Machin's elegant portrait and Christopher Ironside's clear reverse design ensured that the penny remained functional in commerce while also serving as a miniature work of art. Overall, the 1 penny Elizabeth II 1979 coin is a humble yet historically significant piece. It embodies the early years of Britain's decimal coinage carries design steeped in national heritage and was produced during a period when coins were still a central part of everyday life. Top 4. The 1 penny coin of 1990 featuring Queen Elizabeth II is a small yet important piece of British numismatic history. It forms part of the decimal coinage system that was introduced in 1971, replacing the centuries-old pounds, shillings, and pence system. By 1990, decimalization was almost 2 decades old, and the penny was an established fixture of everyday currency used widely in shops, vending machines, and all manner of small transactions. While the penny's face value was modest, its cultural and symbolic value was far greater, serving as a link between Britain's modern monetary system and its centuries-old traditions of monarchy and governance. The 1990 issue is particularly notable because it falls in the Raphael Maclauf portrait era, 1985 to 1997, and was among the later years to feature the bronze composition before the eventual switch to copper-plated steel in 1992 for circulation coins. The obverse, front, of the 1991 penny features the third decimal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by sculptor Raphael David Maclauf. This portrait, first introduced in 1985, is characterized by a more formal and idealized depiction of the Queen, avoiding overly realistic facial lines in favor of a timeless and regal appearance. The Queen is shown wearing the George IV state diadem, a crown set with diamonds, pearls, and floral emblems representing England, roses, Scotland, thistles, and Ireland, shamrocks. The level of detail in the diadem's design is impressive even on such a small coin. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin inscription, Elizabeth II D.G. Reg. F.A.D. 1990, which stands for Elizabeth II Grazia Regina Fidei Defensor, Elizabeth II by the grace of God Queen Defender of the Faith. The date, 1990, appears at the end of the inscription, clearly identifying the year of minting. The lettering is crisp and well-proportioned, reflecting the Royal Mint's high production standards. The reverse, back, of the coin continues the design first used for the decimal penny in 1971, a crown portcullis with chains created by Christopher Ironside. The portcullis, a heavy grilled gate historically used in castles for defense, is shown with fine vertical and horizontal bars flanked by chains and topped with a royal crown. Above the portcullis appears the denomination inscription, 1 penny, in bold capital letters, while the numeral 1 sits directly below. This design is deeply symbolic, representing the Palace of Westminster and by extension the British Parliament. It connects the smallest coin in circulation to centuries of governance and royal authority, giving even a low-value coin a strong national identity. In technical specifications, the 1991 penny was struck in bronze, an alloy of 97% copper, 2.5% zinc, and 0.5% tin. The coin measures 20.32 millimeters in diameter, weighs 3.56 grams, and has a thickness of about 1.52 millimeters. Its edge is plain, smooth, which is typical for low-denomination coins to reduce production complexity. Bronze coins like the 1990 issue have a distinctive warm reddish-brown color when new, and over time they may develop a darker brown patina depending on how they are stored or circulated. This year's coin is among the later bronze-struck circulation pennies, as the Royal Mint would switch to copper-plated steel for most coins starting in 1992 to reduce metal costs. The mintage for the 1990 penny was in the tens of millions, as the denomination was still in heavy daily use. Circulated examples are therefore very common and generally worth only face value. However, the Royal Mint also produced a limited number of proof and uncirculated specimens for collector sets. Proof coins were struck to a much higher standard with mirror-like fields and frosted raised designs, allowing the intricate details of the Queen's portrait and the portcullis to stand out more clearly. These proof examples, particularly when still in their original Royal Mint presentation packaging, are more sought after by collectors. From a historical standpoint, the 1990 penny occupies an interesting position in British coinage. It comes just before two significant changes: the metal composition shift in 1992 and the portrait change in 1998 to Ian Rank Broadley's more realistic depiction of the Queen. Collectors who focus on end-of-an-era issues often include the 1990 penny in thematic sets, as it belongs to the final years of all bronze circulation coins in the UK. It also sits firmly in the Maclauf portrait period, which is known for its dignified yet idealized rendering of the monarch. The symbolism of the coin's design is a key part of its identity. The crowned portcullis has been used as a heraldic badge since the time of King Henry VII in the late 15th century, and later became closely associated with the Houses of Parliament. Its use on the penny is a reminder that even the smallest units of currency carry the imagery of governance and the monarchy. The Queen's crowned portrait reinforces this connection, presenting the monarch as a central figure in the constitutional system. In collector terms, the 1990 penny is very accessible for beginners. Circulated examples are easy to find and inexpensive, but high-grade uncirculated and proof versions are more valuable, particularly when free of spot scratches or toning. Because the coin is made of bronze, it is also of interest to collectors who specialize in the pre-1992 bronze coinage era. The difference in composition between bronze coins and later copper-plated steel issues can be detected with a simple magnet test. Bronze is non-magnetic, while steel coins are magnetic. From a numismatic continuity perspective, the 1990 penny shows how the Royal Mint balanced modern production efficiency with the preservation of traditional symbols. The design on both sides had remained unchanged since decimalization in 1971, showing the lasting appeal and functional clarity of Ironside's reverse and the adaptability of different queen portraits over time. For over 2 decades, this consistency meant that the penny was instantly recognizable to the public regardless of the specific year of minting. Overall, the 1 penny Elizabeth II 1990 coin may be small in size and face value, but it is rich in heritage symbolism and context. T stands as a product of late 20th century British coinage, bridging the gap between the early days of decimal currency and the later technological and material changes in minting. Whether preserved in a collector's album, included in a proof set, or remembered as a piece of everyday change from the 1990s, it holds a quiet but enduring place in the story of British money. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.